Welcome back to Little Lab at Home with the Museum of Life and Science. My name is Peregrine and this is Catalyst volunteer Caroline here. We are really excited to do our experiment with you all today. I hope that all of you will help lead our program with your thoughts and questions and ideas in the moderated chat box. This one is a program of primarily Caroline's design, so I would love to hand it over to Caroline.
All right, thank you so much, Peregrine. Well, welcome everyone. This is such an exciting day today. And this week, we're gonna be discussing animal footprints. So footprints can tell us a lot about animals and their behavior. We're gonna be detectives today and follow clues from these footprints to figure out things like where animals have been, what they've been doing, and even how big they might be. So can you all tell me if you've seen any footprints recently out and about in the world? And if so, where might you have seen them? Feel free to put it in the chat.
I saw some, Caroline, by Ellerby Creek. I was helping out over there and I saw in the sand, in the wet sand, I saw some footprints. So that's one place. What about you?
Well, I've seen some footprints actually out in my front yard. We have some dogs and it got really muddy recently. And I've noticed that there are some tiny dog footprints all over the mud. Ooh, we have a friend in the chat saying they've seen some deer footprints outside. So that's exciting. And yes, you can see deer all over Durham, which is a really cool thing. Interesting. So if you think of the footprints that you saw, were they the size of a pebble or the size of like a boulder? Deer footprints, or whatever you might have seen, Peregrine.
You know, I might even, I think probably many of us have seen deer footprints before, but I'm going to show us a little imprint of a deer hoof, just so you can look at it and see if you've seen it before. And you can also tell us about what the size is like. So about like that.
Wow, how cool. That's pretty big. Now, would you all say that that's a bit bigger than a mouse footprint? Or would you expect a mouse footprint to be bigger than that deer footprint? Ooh, we got a friend in the chat saying that a mouse print would be smaller. That is absolutely true. And so what's really cool about that is it's one little clue as to the size of your animal. If you see a really small footprint, it's probably not going to be an elephant or a deer. But if you see a really large footprint, it's also probably not going to be a mouse. So that's a really cool thing we can look at as detectives and think about, what might be the size?
Yeah, I was thinking too, there's different reasons why they might be different sizes. Do any of our friends in the chat have any ideas about why, besides the species, because we know that a mouse is smaller than a deer and definitely smaller than an elephant, are there any other reasons why footprints, even among the same species, might be different sizes? What do you think? This is something really interesting we were talking about earlier, Caroline.
Yes, definitely. Something really cool. If you think about it, why might maybe your feet be different sizes than some other person's?
Well, I definitely have a different shoe size than a lot of people. Certainly a lot of the friends that I teach at the museum, I have a larger shoe size because I'm older.
Absolutely, same here.
So age is something that might change the size of the footprint. Okay, that makes sense.
Age is really cool. And there's one other thing. Male and female animals have differences in appearance. And one of those might be size.
And it depends on the animal. A lot of times when I think about mammals, a lot of times male mammals are larger than female mammals. But when it comes to stuff like insects, a lot of times female insects, or especially arachnids, are larger than the males. So that
definitely
another clue. What other things can footprints tell us, Caroline?
Well, there's some really awesome things that footprints can tell us. And one way which we may get into that is by starting up our experiment. So let's go ahead and get into what we need for today. So first, we're going to need some toy animals, dinosaurs, wild mythical creatures, anything that is exciting for you. And what we'll need with them is we will also need some items or obstacles for them to interact with. I have some sticks here and some rocks. I don't know what Peregrine has over there.
I've also got some rocks, Caroline. I've also got some acorn caps. some dried leaves. I have some birch paper and some sticks and a pine cone.
Oh, how exciting. All right. And then the most important, perhaps, thing we need here is we need something like Play-Doh or a soft putty-like substance that is going to be the ground your animals can walk on. Now, for the purposes of keeping things clean, you may want a tray or a plate or something to put your Play-Doh in. And what we're going to do is use this as our footprint capturing substance. You know, the first thing you want to do is press out your dough onto whatever surface you have here. I've already pressed mine down. I'm going to take my animals off so you can see.
So what we're doing is we're kind of making the equivalent of wet dirt or wet sand, something that's kind of sticky that will show the impression really well.
Yes, something very sticky. Now, where do you find wet dirt if it's not raining?
It's a good question, friends. If it's not raining, meaning everywhere is a little bit wet, where do we find dirt that's wet or soil in general that's wet?
So mud is often, or wet dirt, etc., is often on the sides of rivers and in your watery places by lakes and ponds. And what's really cool, if you think about it, is that's where we tend to see footprints, but that's also where you tend to find the fossil footprints of dinosaurs or things which we call trace fossils. So these are our only clues really to the behavior of animals like dinosaurs, because we can't watch them acting, they're long gone, but you can see where they walked and what they did. And way back when they were walking in prehistoric times, walking along rivers or in kind of a sticky substance, those footprints are what were caught and turned into fossils.
Wow, I love thinking about that. It's a clue for us thinking about animals that are still alive, and a clue for us thinking about how animals behaved that are no longer alive.
Yes.
So this is actually good that I have some dinosaurs here with me. This is cool.
Yes, so cool. All right, now that we have our dough all pressed down, we're going to look at our first clue as detectives. So one of the first clues we can get information about is timing. Now, we can learn about animals in terms of who might have come earlier when you see two sets of footprints. And one way we can do that is by using our toys to get a concept here. So I have a little wildebeest, which is just a small antelope deer-like creature. This is a baby, and I'm going to have him walk across my dough.
I'm going to pick maybe this is a little brontosaurus. And I'm thinking about movement. Now, this is not how this animal probably moved because it can't bend its knees, but we're imagining, and we're still going to be able to tell some clues from the marks that we have left. What's next, Caroline?
Definitely. Well, next you're going to want to take another animal, someone who is not the one that just walked through. In this case, I'm going to take and use my African elephant. They're the ones with the big ears. And I'm going to have this one walk across. Now you want to have the footprints step over the footprints of the first animal. So we're going to have mine step across.
I'm going to use, I'm not sure if this one is a little Diplodocus or something. I'm pretty sure it probably did not walk on two legs exactly like this. For the sake of just using this here.
Yes. Now I'm going to turn mine over so you guys can see my footprints.
Oh, those look great, Caroline.
Wonderful. Now, one thing you might notice is the tiny little footprints of the wildebeest or the little deer guy. They look a little squished, don't they? Right around here. There's two tiny little footprints in the center of this big footprint.
Oh.
And they're not nearly as deep as these ones. Now, this is showing you who is underneath the footprints of the other. So this one, these footprints by the elephant squished these footprints, which means that these footprints by the little deer had to be there first in order to be squished, which means that your deer came before your elephant in behavior. So they walked by first.
That makes such sense. Yeah, I did big footprints first and then little ones. And yeah, I can see very clearly where the little ones have stepped over the big ones. Okay, so the layering, the ones that are at the bottom are older than the ones that are at the top. Interesting.
Yes, which is so exciting. And now adults, this is a really great opportunity as you keep experimenting with children for them to learn deductive reasoning and develop these young detective skills. So you guys can keep trying this out. And when you see footprints out in the wild, you can yourself deduct who might have come first.
Caroline, what are we doing with all of our natural materials?
So with our natural materials, we're going to learn about our second clue here. So I'm going to smooth out my putty, and you're going to go ahead and make a little obstacle course with your natural materials. You can make arches, or you can just stick a rock in the way. Now this is going to be kind of like the world outside. So animals aren't just walking on dirt with nothing around them. Usually there's something like trees or fallen logs. Now, outside in your backyard, you might see some stuff like trees or fallen logs. Now, this activity that we're doing here is going to be really cool because it shows you how you can get ideas about behavior from just footprints. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my smaller animal as well as a slightly bigger animal today. So once you have your setup done, go ahead and get your animals going, and you're going to let them kind of walk around and interact with the landscape. So my little guy is going to walk right through this arch. Little tiny ostrich chick here. Oh, got a little sticky. How about yours, Peregrine? What are yours up to?
Caroline, that's so cute. I was making a little rock, and I was imagining some little plants. And this was my version of the little archway here. And if I had my two different animals, like my giraffe and my little lizard, if I'm doing my lizard, and I'm going to kind of press the feet down so they leave more tracks. I think kind of like your baby ostrich, it can go more or less right under my little stick.
Awesome. Now we might have an issue for these guys. I noticed that my kangaroo is a little too big for the arch. So it's going to kind of have to maybe hop around the arch.
That makes sense. And similarly with my giraffe, this giraffe can't do limbo like the lizard did. So I'm going to have it walking, and then maybe it's able to step over it.
Oh, yes, because giraffes are quite tall. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little animals away and turn it sideways for you guys again to see. I'm going to pick up the rocks because I don't want them falling. Or actually, maybe they'll stay there for you guys. Do you notice that the little footprints, ostrich footprints, go straight through the sticks? Right in the center there. There we go. I can finally point at it. Whereas my kangaroo footprints kind of hop around the sticks. Now this is showing you that the ostrich was able to go straight underneath. It's small enough to fit in this.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's the same for my lizard. I can see that there's some lizard print underneath my little log, whereas the giraffe print stopped completely until you're at the other side of the log.
What are you guys seeing? What are some fun observations you're seeing about your toy animals and the obstacles?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what kind of toy animals you have, or what kind of environment you've set up. I was going to set up a slightly different environment here, Caroline. I was thinking about how animals interact, and I thought, what if my crocodile here going to try to get an antelope snack?
Oh, there might be a bit of a tussle in the footprints there. What do you think, friends?
I think that we could probably see this in the footprints, this behavior, right? If I saw some of these prints here, and it looked like something came up from the edge of the water, and there was a bit of a struggle, and we saw this one moving around and then maybe leaping.
Yes, you'd see so many footprints all at once lapping, and you might, if the alligator ended up getting an antelope snack, you might only see one set of footprints leaving. So that's something really interesting, and that's actually seen when you look at dinosaur fossils. There are a few where there were animals hunting or going to get some food with from another animal. And they had a fight and there was one set of footprints leaving rather than two.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, that's some classic detective forensics, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Also saying that they were using horses and zebra and tiger. That is so cool.
Wow, wonderful. What I was wanting to get into is that there's some really cool things you can learn about footprints as you continue experimenting. You can make footprints in different substrates, which just means different surfaces or dirts that animals walk in. And you can just see some of them are better preserving footprints than others or saving them. For example, our Play-Doh here is really great, but dry sand may not be so great.
That's very true.
Yes. But make sure as you experiment around, if you want to capture footprints, that if you're using dirt, you get it a little wet first. Same thing with sand. Just like our prehistoric riverbeds.
I was looking too at the differences between, even when some of my figures look fairly similar, I noticed that they still have different hoof prints. The Play-Doh lets me see that.
Yes. Oh, that brings up another wonderful thing that we should do here right as we're wrapping up. Peregrine and I had been discussing, there's one really cool thing about hooved animals. So if you look at a hooved animal, like this little wildebeest here, or again, it's just a small antelope deer-like guy, but deer have the same kind of foot. If you look inside at their foot, I'm just going to actually show the foot on the screen. There are 2 toes. Now, 2 toes means that these guys are even-toed. It generally means that they like to eat their food and vomit it up and then chew it again. So even-toads tend to eat their food twice.
So we're saying that when it has an even number of toes that touch the ground on its little hooves, that's related to how it eats its food. That's so funny. So there are some animals, like a cow is an example of
absolutely
with 2 toes who eats its food and then barfs it up a little bit, chews it up again, and swallows it again. Wow. So there's aspects that we can tell from footprints that tell us how these animals eat. That is so cool.
Definitely. Footprints are really wonderful, and I've loved having you all along as detectives today.
I have really enjoyed making the little landscapes. That's one of my favorite parts. I wonder if another exploration we could do is creating different types of landscapes. I was thinking about how I didn't have any birds, but that would be another example of some footprints that suddenly disappear. That could tell us that it's a kind of animal that flies. There's all sorts of insights to be found, and now we have some of the skills to look for them. Thank you so much, Caroline, for leading us in this experiment, and thank you, friends, for doing it with us. I've really enjoyed doing this one. I'm going to keep building with a little bit of Play-Doh. I don't know about all of you.
Oh, same here, for sure. So fun. Thank you, friends, so much for joining us.
Yeah. See you later, friends. Have a great rest of your day.